AITA for walking out after my girlfriend said she'd do whatever she wants? When she stumbled home at dawn, she finally noticed the empty closet and the note I had left on her pillow. You got exactly what you asked for. The last thing Lily said to me wasn't, "I love you," or "I'm sorry." It was a declaration of war disguised as a declaration of independence. It was a Thursday. I was sitting on the edge of our bed, the one we had picked out together at Pottery Barn, my hands hanging between my knees. The room smelled of her perfume, something bold and expensive I had given her for her birthday last year, mixed with the slightly metallic tang of hairspray. She stood before the full-length mirror, a carefully composed silhouette in a little black dress that wasn't even that short. It was the kind of dress you wear to hear a verdict, not to go for a drink. For weeks, I had been living in a fog of silent desperation. The text that made her smile at her phone with a small, secret curve of her lips, the screen that would go dark the moment I walked into the room. The girls' nights that started at 8 p.m. and ended with her stumbling back at 4 a.m. The smell of another bar, another man's cigarette smoke clinging to her coat. A new name, Brandon, from her Equinox gym, popping up in conversation with a casual frequency that felt like dripping acid. I had tried to talk about it last week. Gently, or so I thought. You seem distant lately. Is everything okay? She had heaved a long, exhausted sigh that instantly made me feel small. God, this again? No, I'm living my life, Ethan. I don't have to report my schedule to you now. So, I had swallowed it all down as usual. But that night, watching her slip into that dress, the very one she had once called reserved for a very, very special occasion, and was now wearing for a simple Thursday with Jenna and Samantha, something inside me finally broke. Not with a roar, but with a silent, definitive snap. Lily, I said, my voice strangely calm even to my own ears. Where are you going tonight? She met my gaze in the mirror, her look cool and appraising as she applied a final coat of blood-red lipstick. Out with the girls, I already told you. You're wearing the birthday dress. It's my dress. I'll wear what I want. A casual flick of her wrist. The coldness hit me like a slap. I took a deep breath. The last breath of the man who was still trying. Is Brandon going to be there? Her hands froze. The room fell silent except for the hum of the overhead light. She turned slowly, leaning against the vanity, crossing her arms. Her posture wasn't defensive, but confrontational. A queen considering a challenge from a presumptuous peasant. What about Brandon? I just see his name a lot. You talk about him a lot. You're texting someone right now, smiling. My sentence trailed off, the words sounding pathetic even to me. Her laugh was short, humorless. Here we go, the Inquisition begins. Let me make things perfectly clear for you, Ethan. She took a step forward. Each word was a precise, deliberate projectile. I will wear what I want. A gesture down the length of her body. I will text who I want. She snatched her phone from the vanity and brandished it, the lit screen showing an unread message. And I will go out with who I want. She paused, letting the ultimatum hang in the perfumed air. Her eyes stayed locked on mine. For the first time, I didn't see the woman I had loved for 3 years. I saw a stranger thrilled by her own cruelty, mistaking my devotion for imprisonment and my concern for control. She was enjoying this. It's my life, she said, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. I'm not your property. I don't owe you any explanation. My heart, which had been hammering against my ribs, suddenly went still. The chaos of pain, jealousy, and confusion didn't disappear. It just stopped mattering. It was as if a circuit had finally overloaded and blown for good, leaving a silent, icy clarity in its wake. The fog lifted. I saw the room, the bed, the woman before me with absolute, brutal sharpness. She must have seen a shift in my face because her smug smile faltered for a millisecond. She overplayed her hand, delivering the final, clearly rehearsed line she believed would put me back in my place. Repentant, submissive, begging for scraps of attention. So, if you don't like it, she concluded, a cold, triumphant smirk brushing across her painted lips, you can leave. For a long moment, I just looked at her. I saw the girl I had driven 2 hours for in the middle of the night to pick her up from the airport. The woman who had cried on my shirt when her cat died. And then I saw the ghost now standing before me, using her face as a mask. A deep, almost supernatural peace settled over me. A simple nod of my chin, slow, definitive. The faintest hint of a smile touched my lips. Not of happiness, but of recognition that a problem was finally solved. Her victorious smirk froze, then twisted into confusion. What? But I was already moving. I stood up from the bed, my movements fluid and precise, no need for drama. I walked past her, close enough to catch another wave of that expensive perfume, and went to our shared closet. I reached up to the top shelf and pulled down my old gym bag, the one she'd always hated because it was worn out. What are you doing? Her voice had lost its steel. It was now tinged with a high note of disbelief. I didn't answer. I unzipped the bag and laid it on the bed. I opened my side of the closet and started taking out my things. Not in a heap, but piece by piece. My dress shirts, my jeans, my sweaters. I folded each item neatly before placing it in the bag. I was a librarian, silently reshelving a chapter of my life that was now definitively closed. Ethan, stop it. You're being childish. This isn't funny. I moved to the bathroom. My toothbrush, my razor, the unscented deodorant she mocked, all went into the bag. I went back to my nightstand. I picked up the book I was reading, a biography of a silent film star. I took the framed photo of my parents. I left the one of us at the beach, faces sunburned and smiling. You're unbelievable. This is a tantrum. Is it because you don't want me to change my plans? Her words crashed against the new soundproof wall that surrounded me. The only thing I could hear was the calm, logical voice in my head. Socks, underwear, passport, laptop charger. In less than 10 minutes, my side of the room had been erased. The closet looked huge. My nightstand was bare except for the lamp. The bag was full, zipped shut. She was still standing by the vanity. Her arms were limp now, her mouth slightly open. The confrontation script had vanished, replaced by dumbfounded shock. She hadn't moved. She was still wearing the victory dress, waiting for the second act where I would plead, where I would fight, where I would prove my love by enduring her contempt. I slung the bag strap over my shoulder. It was heavier than I expected. I took one last look around the room. My eyes landed on the notepad she kept on her nightstand for grocery lists and inspirational quotes. I walked over, picked up her fancy pen, and wrote 6 words on a clean sheet. I didn't look at her. I folded the paper in half. I walked to her side of the bed and placed it right in the center of her pillow. Then I turned and left the room. Ethan, where are you going? Don't you dare walk away from me. Her voice followed me down the hall, rising in pitch, shifting from annoyance to something close to panic. I didn't slow down. I grabbed my laptop from the living room, my keys from the bowl by the door. I could hear the angry clack of her heels on the hardwood floor. You're coming back, she shouted, the words laced with a desperate attempt to regain control. You're not just walking out. You'll come crawling back tomorrow, you pathetic. The front door clicked shut behind me, cutting her off mid-insult. It wasn't a slam, but a firm, final click. The night air was cool and quiet. I put the bag in the trunk of my car. As I settled into the driver's seat, I looked up at the window of our second-floor apartment. The light was still on. I could make out the blurred shape of her silhouette standing there, watching. I started the engine. It rumbled to life. I didn't peel out. I pulled the car away from the curb with the same calm deliberation with which I had packed my bag. In the rearview mirror, the lit window grew smaller and smaller until it was just another yellow square on the building's facade, and then it was gone. The silence inside the car was immense. It wasn't the silence of loneliness. It was the silence of a verdict rendered, a sentence carried out. She had given me a choice, and for the first time in a very long time, I had taken it. I drove for about 20 minutes with no particular destination in mind. The streets were just a familiar blur of neon and headlights. A world that looked the same, but now existed on the other side of a fundamental line. The adrenaline, the cold clarity that had fueled my departure, began to recede, leaving a hollow, ringing space in my chest. It wasn't grief yet. It was just the residual vibrations of a detonation. I found a chain hotel by the freeway, an impersonal box of light with no charm whatsoever. The room smelled of lemon cleaning products and stale air. I dropped my duffel bag on the floor, the sound strangely loud in the absolute silence. For a long moment, I just stood there, listening to the hum of the mini fridge. Then, methodically, I began to settle in. I put my phone on silent. I didn't turn it off, just disabled the sounds. I took a shower so hot it turned my skin red, washing away the last traces of her perfume and the tension of the apartment. I put on sweatpants and a t-shirt, clothes that felt truly mine in a way none of our shared things in the closet had for months. I ordered a truly disgusting cheeseburger from room service and ate every bite sitting at the small desk, watching a muted sports highlight show on TV. The normality of the act, chewing, swallowing, tasting the salt and grease, grounded me. This was life. This simple, quiet, solitary act. No one watching me eat. No one sighing because I left some ketchup on the plate. It was just me and a bad hamburger in a silent room. My phone, face up on the table, began to light up. An incoming call. Lily. The screen lit up, vibrated, then went dark. A minute later, it lit up again. And again. After the fourth call, the text started coming, vibrating in rapid-fire bursts against the wood of the table. 10:47 p.m. Where are you? This isn't funny. 10:49 p.m. My closet is. Did you take my black pumps? You better not have taken my pumps, Ethan. 10:53 p.m. Pick up the phone. We need to talk. You're overreacting. 11:21 p.m. Seriously, you're sulking now. Real mature. 11:45 p.m. I'm home. Where are you? I read them with a detached curiosity, like an anthropologist studying the rituals of an unknown tribe. The concern wasn't for me, or for us. It was for her interrupted evening, for the missing shoes. The epicenter of her crisis was the closet, not the relationship. I took another bite of the burger. The phone lit up one last time for a call at 3:17 a.m. I pictured her stumbling in, the adrenaline from her night out evaporated, replaced by alcohol and dawning reality. That was probably when she saw the note. I imagined her picking up the paper, unfolding it, reading the 6 words under the light of the bedside lamp. You got what you asked for. The call went to voicemail. I didn't listen to it then. I finally fell into a deep, dreamless sleep of pure exhaustion, not on my side of the bed, but right in the center of a large bed with crisp hotel linens. The next morning, in the cold, practical light of day, I listened to the message. Her voice was slurred, thick with tears and something else. Cabernet, maybe. Ethan. Oh God, the closet is so empty. Did you really leave? You just left? After all this. I didn't want you to. We need to talk. Please, just come home. I'm sorry. You misunderstood. Just come home and we'll fix this. The tone was all wrong. It wasn't the regret of someone who had used cruelty like a blade. It was the confused wail of a child who broke a toy and is shocked it won't reassemble itself. Sorry you misunderstood. Not sorry for what I said. Not sorry I meant it. I deleted the message. I blocked her number. The following week was a study in surreal logistics. I used my savings to put a deposit on a small, furnished studio apartment on the other side of town. It looked out onto a brick wall and the distant sound of a train, but it was mine. I notified the leasing agency about terminating our joint lease and paid my share of the final month to avoid any legal complications. I contacted the internet and power companies to have my name removed from the accounts. It was an administrative euthanasia, ending our shared life one item at a time. I allowed myself a single indulgence. A week later, a morbid moment of curiosity. I unblocked her number. Just long enough to see the flood of missed calls and messages that had piled up. Then I opened Instagram. The night I left, she had posted something. A blurry, crowded photo showing a cocktail, her nails, that blood red, wrapped around the glass. The caption, living my best life. The comments from her circle were a chorus of fire emojis and Yas Queen from Jenna and Samantha. The posts in the following days told a more subtle story. A quote image about storms before the calm. A selfie where the smile didn't reach her eyes. Captioned, learning to be my own haven of peace. Then, 5 days after I left, a new face appeared. Brandon. A gym selfie of the two of them, her cheek against his shoulder, his bicep flexed near her face. He had a smug look. She had a victorious one, but her eyes seemed frantic, like someone clinging to a life raft. The caption, when you upgrade to first class. I felt nothing. No jealousy, no anger, just a mild, clinical pity. She had traded a real, if undervalued, connection for the flashy validation of a man who clearly saw her as a trophy to be displayed. I screenshotted it, not for revenge, but as a receipt, a final piece of evidence. Then I blocked her on every platform I could remember. The silence that followed was the most precious thing I had ever owned. 3 weeks into this new, quiet existence, my phone rang. An unknown number. I had just gotten back from a run, my new routine. The steady rhythm of my feet on the sidewalk was a therapy I never knew I needed. I answered, still out of breath. Ethan? Oh my God, you answered. It was Erin, Lily's most toxically loyal friend. Her voice was a theatrical whisper. Erin, I said, taking a sip of water. Listen, I know I shouldn't be calling, but I'm worried about her. I'm worried about you too. There is no you too, Erin. Oh, don't be like that, she chided, as if I were some sulking teenager. She's a mess, Ethan. A complete disaster. You have to call her. I stayed silent, letting the weight of the silence grow on her end of the line. She continued, tripping over her own words. That Brandon guy, a total user. He disappeared. Like, ghosted after, you know. She lowered her voice even more, that after he got what he wanted. She went to his place, and some other girl answered the door. Can you imagine the humiliation? I could imagine it perfectly. I said nothing. And the girls from that night, the ones she went out with? They've completely dropped her. Said she's gotten too dramatic, too needy. Can you believe that? Erin's tone suggested I should be outraged on Lily's behalf. I wasn't. I understood completely. Lily had mistaken an audience for loyalty. She's a mess at work, Erin went on, now driven more by gossip than concern. She got a warning for missing a deadline, and she burst into tears in a meeting when her boss called her out. She just stays in the apartment crying and watching sad movies. It's pathetic. The word hung in the air. Pathetic. Even her most loyal friend couldn't avoid the truth. She just keeps saying she made a huge mistake, that you were right about everything, that she was stupid. She needs you, Ethan. You were always the stable one. You have to fix this. There it was, the heart of the matter. Not, I love you. Not, I miss you. But, you were the stable one. You have to fix this. I wasn't a partner to be loved. I was a function to be fulfilled, an emotional janitor hired to clean up the messes she enjoyed making. Thank you for letting me know, Erin. My voice was flat, polite. The tone of a representative ending a call. There was a shocked pause on the other end. That's it. Thank you for letting me know. What is wrong with you? She's hurting. I've noted the information. I repeated with absolute professional neutrality. Take care of yourself. I hung up before she could protest. I blocked the number immediately. The intrusion on my peace had felt like a violation, but my resolve hadn't wavered. It had crystallized, turning to diamond. Later that evening, the final piece of Lily's public collapse came to me. A text from my old neighbor, Daniel, a good guy who used to give me a knowing look when Lily's voice carried down the hall. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Just a heads up, saw a for rent sign in your old window today. Leasing office must have finally had enough. Crazy. I thanked him and stared at the message. The apartment, our apartment, the stage for her final performance. She was losing it. She couldn't afford it on her own, not with the lifestyle she was leading, not with that new mark on her professional record. She was being forced to abandon the set of our drama, the physical space where she had felt powerful enough to issue her ultimatum. Karma wasn't a lightning bolt from the sky. It was a slow, inevitable tide, eating away the ground beneath her feet. It was the consequence of her own words, her own choices, delivered in the cold, hard currency of rent, friendships, and self-respect. She wanted freedom from the bonds of my care. Now she was drowning in the absolute, boundless immensity of that very freedom. I turned off my phone. Outside my new studio window, the distant whistle of a train sounded, a lonely, constant sound. It sounded like movement, like departure. I was already gone. The first contact was a crack in the dam. After Erin's call, the attempts began in earnest, seeping through the digital walls I had built. A week later, a new number texted me. I knew it was her before I even read it. The cadence was a ghost in the machine. Unknown number. It's me. Please don't ignore me. I can't believe you just abandoned me like this. We built a life. We need to talk. I'm sorry you misunderstood what I meant. I was stressed. You know how I get. I looked at the message. Sorry you misunderstood. The anthem of the non-apology. It wasn't stress. It was the truth, finally spoken aloud. I didn't block the number immediately. I left it there, like a dead fish in my inbox. My silence was my answer. 2 days later, another text. Another new number. Unknown number. The apartment is so empty and quiet. It's horrible. Remember our trip to Big Sur? We were so happy. We can be again. Please just answer me. Nostalgia weaponized. She was trying to paint over the dark, final mural of our ending with an old postcard. She didn't remember me. She remembered a feeling, a service I had provided. The sensation of being cherished without having to bear its weight in return. I deleted the message. Then came the voicemail, left at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Her voice was thick, trembling, a performance of ruined vulnerability. Ethan, it's Lily. I don't know what to do. Everything is falling apart. I had to give up the apartment. I'm sleeping on my cousin's couch, and it's humiliating. Brandon, that was a lie. All of it was a lie. You were the only real thing. I was so stupid. I needed to feel wanted. And you were always just there. I took you for granted. I see that now. Please, can we just get coffee? Just talk. I'll do anything. I love you. I never stopped loving you. The confession was almost impressive in its self-centered absurdity. You were always just there. A piece of furniture. I needed to feel wanted. So she sought the cheap, flashy desire of a stranger, discarding the deep, constant affection I offered. And the final, desperate, I love you. A currency she tried to spend after declaring emotional bankruptcy. It was the most honest thing she had ever said. And all it stirred in me was a faint, cold disgust. I saved the voicemail, not as a memento, but as evidence. Proof for myself of what I had left behind. The escalation was inevitable. A week after the voicemail, the same unknown number called while I was meal prepping in my studio kitchen. The rhythmic chop of the knife on the board served as a calming metronome. I answered distractedly, thinking it might be the building manager. Hello. Are you happy now? Her voice was a ragged, disguised scream. It was the sound of the mask finally shattering. Is this what you wanted? To destroy me? My life is ruined. I lost the apartment, Ethan, my job. My friends are gone. I said nothing. I placed the knife down on the counter. Slowly. You should have fought for me, she shrieked, the words tearing from her throat. That's what you do when you love someone. You should have saved me from myself. You should have stopped me. Instead, you just left, you selfish bastard. There it was, the brilliant, absurd inversion. Her cruelty was now my fault. Her choices, my neglect. In the warped mirror of her mind, I was the villain for accepting the exact terms she had set. I finally spoke, my voice low and flat. A stone dropped into her chaos. But you told me to leave if I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So I left. The silence on the other end vibrated with a furious, incoherent energy. I heard a choked sob, a sound of pure rage. You can't use my own words against me. You can't be this calm. You have to. I hung up. I blocked the number. Then I opened my computer and started the process of changing my phone number. It was time. The last thread, however frayed, had to be cut. The piece that descended upon me was deeper, reinforced. I had heard the final form of her rage, her true colors flapping in the wind as a final salute. There was nothing left to discover. 2 months to the day after I left, a cold, persistent autumn rain was falling, slicking the sidewalks and turning the city lights into liquid smears. I was walking home from the gym, a new habit that had reshaped not just my body but my mind, with my bag over my shoulder and a sturdy umbrella in hand. My new building was a converted warehouse with a secure entrance, a small fortress I had built for myself. As I rounded the corner to my street, I saw her. She was huddled under the narrow awning of a closed coffee shop next to my building's entrance, soaked to the bone. Her hair was plastered to her head, mascara running in black trails down her cheeks. She wore a thin, cheap coat inadequate for the downpour. She looked smaller, broken, like a discarded doll. The woman from the mirror was gone. Our eyes met. Hers widened. A frantic, starved hope flared in them. She took a staggering step forward, out into the rain. Ethan. I didn't stop walking, but I slowed my pace. This had to be faced. Running would only feed her fantasy. I stopped a few feet away from her, the rain drumming on my umbrella. I offered her no shelter from it. How did you find me? My voice was calm, detached, as if asking for the time. Aaron. She heard from someone who heard from Daniel. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. Her teeth were chattering. I had to see you. I just had to. You're getting soaked, I observed. There was no concern in it, just a statement of fact. She let out a sound that was half sob, half laugh of despair. You think I care about that? Look at me. Look what's happened to me. I've lost everything, Ethan. Everything. I waited. I said nothing. The silence seemed to make her more desperate than a shout ever could. She moved forward, the words tumbling out of her uncontrollably, a messy landslide. I was wrong. I was so wrong. You were right about everything. Brandon, the nights out, the way I treated you. I was an idiot. I was scared. I just needed to feel wanted, and you were so steady, and I thought. I don't even know what I thought. Please, she took another step, her hand rising as if to touch my arm. I took a subtle half-step back, maintaining the distance. The rejection made her flinch as if slapped. Can we just go upstairs? Please? Just to talk, out of the rain. I'm so cold. We can talk. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll stop going out. I'll become the girl you fell in love with again, I promise. Just give me one chance to fix this. Her eyes were huge, pleading pools in her pale face. It was a total performance, an absolute surrender. In another lifetime, it would have destroyed me. I would have put my coat around her, taken her upstairs, made tea, and spent months trying to glue the pieces back together, shouldering all the blame just to make her tears stop. Now, all I saw was the calculated urgency. She wasn't offering change. She was offering to play a part, the role of the woman I once loved, if it would get her out of the cold and back into the life she herself had set on fire. I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time since that night, and I felt the final, absolute absence. Not hate, not pity. Indifference. Lily, I said, my voice as steady as stone. You told me exactly what you wanted. The right to wear, text, and go out with whomever you pleased. You gave me a clear instruction in the event I didn't like it, that I should leave. She opened her mouth to interrupt, but I continued, the quiet precision of my words cutting through the rain and her panic. I followed your instructions. To the letter. I left. That transaction is complete. It wasn't a transaction, she sobbed desperately. It was a relationship. No, I corrected her gently. It stopped being a relationship the moment you issued an ultimatum, confident I would never call your bluff. You wanted a dynamic where your freedom was absolute and my devotion was unconditional. That's not a partnership. That's a hostage situation. I chose to free myself. Tears mingled with the rainwater on her face. The man you're looking for, I said. The one who worried about your outfits and your texts. The one who stayed up waiting for you. Who wanted to build a life with you. He doesn't live here anymore. You evicted him. I made a slight gesture with my umbrella toward the secure door of my building. My life now is quiet. I don't monitor anyone's clothes or messages. I don't stay up waiting. I just live. And you, I looked her straight in the eye, my gaze utterly clear, without malice, without affection, without anything. You don't belong in this piece. Please don't come here again. The finality in my voice was an iron door swinging shut. I saw the frantic hope in her eyes flicker, then die, replaced by a growing, hollow dread. She hadn't just lost me. She had turned me into someone who could watch her drown and feel nothing. I was the living, breathing consequence of her actions. I turned and walked the final few feet to the building door. I took out my keys. Ethan. The cry was raw now, pure pain. I didn't look back. The fob beeped. The lock opened with a solid, reassuring click. I pulled open the heavy glass and steel door. Just as I stepped over the threshold into the warm, brightly lit lobby, a voice called from down the hall. Hey, Ethan. It's wild out there, huh? It was Mila, my neighbor from down the hall. She was in running clothes, stretching her calf against the wall, her face flushed and smiling. Vibrant. Independent. She had never asked anything of me except to sign for a package when she was out. I turned toward her, the door beginning to swing shut behind me, sealing off the view of the drenched figure on the street for good. A genuine, easy smile came to my lips for the first time in what felt like months. Tell me about it. I replied, my voice warm, light. A whole world separated this tone from the calm coldness I had just left outside. Are we still on for that hike Saturday if this weather clears up? Absolutely. Looking forward to it, she smiled. The door closed with a final, muffled click. The last sound from outside was lost. Was it a sob, a shout, or just the patter of the rain? I didn't know, and I never wanted to. The lobby was quiet, warm, clean. The past was on the other side of the glass, blurry and irrelevant, already being washed away in the runoff. I walked toward the elevators with Mila, talking about hiking trails, my gym bag light on my shoulder, my peace intact, my future finally my own. The ghost had been seen, acknowledged, and dismissed. It had no power here. Comment. What this story truly highlights for me is the incredible power of self-respect. Sometimes, the most loving act is not fighting for someone who does not value you, but having the courage to quietly walk away. Choosing your own peace is not selfish. It is the foundation for building a healthier, happier life. Always remember that you teach others how to treat you, and sometimes, the most important lesson begins when you choose to walk out the door. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.